Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Democratic View. I'm the hostess. My name is Phyllis Italiano, and I have with me today a very nice, tall young man named Tyler Armstrong, who is the Democratic candidate for trustee. And we want to welcome you to the show, Tyler.
Thank you, Phyllis. Great to be on here.
So we don't know you very well, so we're going to find out a little bit about you right now.
Okay.
I want you to tell me where you were born and raised,
Okay.
and your schooling.
All right, sure. Well, I'm a local. I'm a fourth generation local here. My mother was a Daymark, which is a local family that you might know from Daymark's Deli. And
I do.
My father's from New York City, but my mother and father, met up many years ago and got married, moved out to the west of California, and I actually was born in California, but my mother grew up out here, and so did my grandma and so on. I moved back here when I was 4 years old, so been here ever since I was 4. I guess I'm pretty lucky to have the two coasts in my life.
Yeah, so where did you...
California was gorgeous, and then here is incredibly gorgeous.
And where did you go to school? East Hampton or Springs?
Yeah, I went to East Hampton High School, East Hampton Middle School, and then I finished high school in 2004, and I went to college in Massachusetts.
What college?
Hampshire College in Western Mass, and I studied ecology. I was into photography for a while too, and education, so I have a lot of different interests. But I eventually studied ecology to learn more about just the way everything fits together in the world. I was always really enthralled by the natural world growing up here, just seeing all the connections, all the diversity of life out here, seeing how our water affects the trees, which affect the birds, which affect the insects, and so on. So
It
learn
is.
more about that.
It is so exciting to live out here.
It is.
The other day we walked out of my front door and my daughter said to me, "Look at that bird over there." And all of a sudden we saw a bird that must have been this long, and he had what I thought was a squirrel in his mouth.
Wow.
And
okay.
we figured it had to be a young eagle because we couldn't figure any other bird that was that large.
Yeah, there are some really large hawks and eagles out here. Some birds have a 5-foot wingspan.
And I mean,
arms.
right. And it is amazing that we have this opportunity. Today I went for my morning swim, and as I went around the curve in Maidstone Park, there were two big, fluffy white birds, and I couldn't see what they were. And there's a guy behind me, so I couldn't stop to see, what is that? I figured after a while there must have been just a couple of swans, which are not usually down in that part of Maidstone.
Sure.
So it is very fascinating to be out here and see all of this magnificent nature.
It is, yeah.
So what happened next?
Well, after I got back here, I really started to see the area changing. I mean, I've been here, I'm 28 years old, been here since I was 4, like I said, and throughout that time I've just seen so much change out here. Everyone has, but I think there are some aspects of the ecology and the ecosystem and all these little interconnected parts that we're starting to really lose, and it's serious, and more serious than some people give it credit.
Oh, you are a man after my own heart.
Well, I guess one thing I find interesting is how much people focus on deer, which is great. Deer are an important animal out here. They have a large effect on the forests and on our own lives, but they're an animal we might have too many of, which is a matter of controversy, but people don't focus as much on the animals we have too few of. So I think there are other animals out there that are important to the whole system.
Like bees.
Which we're missing out. Yeah, bees are very important. A lot of insects are really important. There's a lot of diversity in insects. So if we lose some of that diversity, it's just taking away competition in the whole entire scheme. And then certain insects we don't want, like yellow jackets or mosquitoes, have more room in the ecosystem to kind of take over and have a bigger part.
So when you returned here, what did you do?
Oh, well, I started looking for jobs, of course. And I wanted to work in the sciences somehow. I'd done some field work in college in North Carolina for a summer, monitoring trees and forests, and I got really into studying insects and trees. And so I came back here and wanted to work more with that or do education, and I finally found the South Fork Natural History Museum. So a great little museum in Bridgehampton on the Turnpike. It's been around for many years, teaching about local nature. So
my daughter
really up my alley.
who just moved here.
Yeah.
Joined SOFO, is what we call it. And
Good,
I
everyone
will
should.
say, we have gone to some programs, and I really never did it before, and I'm out here since 2002, and I am thrilled to death with that group. We did a trip to the North Fork, to Baiting Hollow, to see this hummingbird sanctuary.
Yes, that's a really good program.
I mean, blew me away. I mean, really blew me away. And going into that area, the North Fork, which I did know from being, when I was a child, I was in Jamesport, and to see Baiting Hollow is to see what it was like out here years ago. And I started weeping.
Yeah.
Because I was so reminiscent of the most magnificent place I had ever been. I don't know why I ever left. I should have just moved out here all by myself and lived here all that time, because it's just so glorious.
We're lucky. We're lucky to still have some of those little gems left like that.
Yes.
Areas where you can see what it really was like forever, basically. And this area was always a place of amazing bounty for the Native Americans who lived here, and then for the Europeans who came, and for people still nowadays. But we're at risk of losing that bounty to some degree. Like I saw you had Dan Galizio, the Conic Baykeeper, on the show, which I think will be shown soon in the future. But just what he had to say about the water quality and how the population increase has really impacted development and impacted our surface and groundwaters is just heartbreaking, but also kind of motivating. I mean, you kind of feel like I'm here now at this crucial time when I can maybe really make a big difference in this. And I care about this area. A lot of people do, and I think we all have a stake in protecting it.
Yes, I hope that more people will have a stake in protecting it, because I just also had interviewed Sylvia Ogilvie, and we both decided at the end of the show that that's what we do. What we do is we're saving the East End. We want to save the East End because it's just too magnificent to lose.
And as Sylvia is a great public servant. I mean, she has the interest of the public in mind, which is what anybody who runs for an elected position should be doing. So
tell me, what happened that got you into this whole realm of running for trustee?
Well, I guess once I got back here, I started getting involved in politics because I was seeing those changes happening. So I started going to town board meetings and going to different public meetings. And I eventually ran into other members of the Democratic Committee who liked what I had said about some things on deer or on different issues. And I was approached by Betty Mazur, who asked me, to maybe run for trustee at some point. So I mulled it over for a while, and when this spring came up, I decided to go for it.
Wonderful.
So I've been in politics, been trying to keep an eye on politics out here for a long time. But what I've been seeing is I just notice everything. Not that it's a problem in some ways, but everyone's very older in politics. I don't know if it's very old, but
absolutely.
most people in
me,
politics
of course.
are older than me at least. So I just started to imagine what would happen in the future, and seeing this kind of void forming there, where if we don't keep having young locals involved in politics, who is going to take over that position when some of the older people...
It isn't only who's going to take it over, it's that, my God, it's your place too.
Right, yeah.
And you have to earn your right to be, considered an East Hamptonite.
Yeah.
You gotta work here. You gotta be taking interest. I get very upset when I see, I try to get people involved and I can't. And even among older people as well. I mean, everybody has to take an interest in where we live, because it's such a vulnerable area. I mean, you talk about water. I mean, when they say, "Oh, you can't drink the water anymore," I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, where are we going to go?
Right.
Gonna swim to Connecticut or what?
Right.
I mean, we have to be more aware of what's going on in our area.
We do. That's one of those scary things. You never want to hear that. And then when you're actually in a place in the world where you're hearing that, like, don't drink the water anymore, especially when it's a place where the groundwater used to be so pure that it attracted people from all over. I mean, Amagansett means place of good water.
Does it? I didn't know that.
In the language, yep. So that's where the word Amagansett means, place of good water. And it's low there. The groundwater would come right up, and you could actually get water, like Indian wells. It's actually wells where the Native Americans would get their water.
Oh.
And now that groundwater is full of pesticides, pharmaceuticals, all these things that people have been flushing down the toilet or spraying on the ground for decades, But it's sad, but we can do something about it. I think we really can help now.
Well, I
We
have
just need to be
interviewed.
proactive and get involved.
Yeah, I have interviewed a group that from the Lloyd McAfee group.
The Aquifer group, yeah.
Yeah, and about what to do with your unwanted medications,
Yeah, that's a very important message.
which
Don't
is
flush them down the
not to flush them in the toilets. That's not where they go. They go back to somewhere where they can. And then, by the way, most of the drugstores do take them and send them.
Yeah, and the police station will take
Right.
them. Yeah.
And the police stations as well. That's right.
So anytime you can bring your pharmaceuticals to the police station and get them thrown away, and do not flush them down the toilet.
So tell us what. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, it's that kind of out of sight, out of mind thing, I think, that is a big problem with water in general. I mean, our water is underground, so you don't see it. You're not exposed to it until you turn your faucet on, and in which case it seems like a magical thing. You just turn a switch, and there's water, and you get so used to it that you don't make the whole connection sometimes.
Well, they
in your busy
sometimes,
life.
they run a little thing on LTV where they say to people, where does your water come from? And people will say, oh, it comes from my tap. Oh, it comes from some reservoir. They think, that the reservoirs over in Westchester County,
Right.
in upstate New York, are flowing into Long Island. They are not. It comes from under your feet. It's called a sole source aquifer. And that's what we have to protect. And by the way, everybody has to be very careful about what they use. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I have sand in one of my bathtubs from my granddaughter and my daughter-in-law, and I would like to be able to get rid of that sand. Boy, I know Drano would do the trick.
Right.
I wouldn't use Drano if my life depended on
Good.
it.
Yeah, it would destroy your septic system. And then
No,
it
I'm not
wouldn't-
going to do anything
Yeah,
with it. You have
right,
to be very aware of all the products you use. And who cares about a green lawn? I have no idea.
Yeah.
When I see a green lawn, I want to yell out, stupid!
To me, yeah, a lawn like that seems like a waste of space because, I mean, as an ecologist, I love diversity of life, and I love diversity gives systems strength. And a lawn is kind of strange because it's one plant for, yards and yards, all you can see, just the same plant over and over again. And that just seems like a waste to an ecologist because you have all this space where you could have many different species working together to make a more stable community that doesn't use so many resources.
Well,
You don't
that
need- you
sounds
don't
like
need
a
so
class
much.
you have to have.
You don't need so much
sometime.
fertilizer if you have different plants sharing the nutrients.
So tell us what a trustee actually does.
Okay. Well, they can manage public lands on behalf of the public. So the bottomlands, the underwater property, essentially, up to certain points of the beach, of course, too, which is different at different spaces. But making sure that nowadays it's a lot of scientific things. Usually it was more permitting for boats and for shellfishing in the harbors and things like that. But now as we have more issues, more severe storms, sea level rising, we have a lot more erosion than we used to have, and we have a lot more water pollution and water quality issues. So all the trustee meetings I've been going to, I just see issue after issue on the table is a science-based issue, and they really don't have much science on the board. They really have maybe 2 people with science background out of the 9 trustees. So I really think that in this modern time they could use a lot more science background. Just to
Yes.
understand the issues better.
Well,
We
it's-
have locals too, so.
I'm on the Suffolk County Health list, and I get these almost nightly little communications about, and it's amazing. After the kind of rain we're having today, I will get something like, I know the last time we had a rain like this, there were 67 beaches closed in Suffolk County.
Wow.
67, all over Suffolk County.
Yeah.
Lake Ronkonkoma, a lake I used to pass on my way to Jamesport years ago. Beautiful, gorgeous lake, has been closed on and off because of the pollution and the cyanobacteria. And
That stormwater runoff is a huge part of what contributes to that.
That's right.
Driving here today, yeah, it was just pouring rain, and it was only raining maybe an hour, but it came down so fast, and it had been so dry, it was all just on the surface, hadn't had time to really saturate the soil yet. So even, roads that are in higher areas, there's big, deep puddles there, and it's just, all this is pulling all that old oil, all the chemicals from the cars, from brake pads, metals like antimony and other strange metals you don't see very often, end up in trace amounts on those roads from car parts, and then that just gets swept into the surface water.
I've never had anybody on this show who's ever used the word antimony. Fortunately, being a science background teacher, I know what it is.
But there are, it's just an example of how many things we use in these products that everyone uses so much nowadays that people really don't know what's in these things. People, even your car, that in your brake pads, in your shampoo, or things like that you're washing down the drain, where you can't pronounce half the ingredients on the bottle, yet you're going to put it in your head and then wash it into your septic system at the end of your shower.
Oh, gee.
I mean, not to, put any extra fear in people's hearts, but the best way to deal with these things, I think, is to inspire people and get people involved and say, hey, there is a solution. There is a way we can do this. You can buy a better product. You can spend $1 more and then not feel bad that your shampoo is going to, destroy your septic system and contribute to nitrogen pollution.
Getting back to the role of the trustee, for a long time, LTV was wanted to get the trustee meetings televised, and they put up a big...
There's a lot of opposition, I heard, yeah.
Yes, there was an enormous amount of opposition, and they are now on regular LTV shows, but I'm hoping that when you get elected, you will help those people, your colleagues, to move out of that place, to move to a place where the sound will be a little bit better. It's very difficult to
seems like a good idea, it does.
Yes.
I've heard that from some other people, and just in what I've seen at the meetings, they seem to not have enough room in the building even for everyone who's in there. So
that's right.
That would be a good move forward. I think there are a lot of ways that they could really just be a little more organized and better cooperation with the public and other bodies of government. To really
Yes, I'd also would like to see the minutes. In case I miss it, I would like to see the minutes online somewhere. Yeah. Which would be another good thing to, because I think people have to realize that these people called the trustees, based upon the Dungan pattern of the 1600s, have an enormous role to play in really essentially our economy as well.
They do. Well, that brings me to a really good point, which is kind of the main point I wanted to bring up today, which is that the trustees do have a unique position in government, being that they predate the federal government, and they can do more with their power, I think, to really preserve our environment and our community and our culture out here.
Yes. I mean, we all know that this used to be a place. I mean, I haven't gone to Fire Island from the early 60s. I remember when the scallops used to dance in the water, that doesn't happen. Great South Bay is practically dead now. And that's what can happen when people are not vigilant in taking care of the environment they have.
Exactly.
And this place...
Up to the whole community to do that. So this big link that I'm seeing a lot is of course, the link between our environment and our economy, but also how keeping the community intact helps protect the environment, which then helps protect the economy, which then comes around to help the community. So you can kind of start this great positive feedback loop if you really, I think, get the community more involved and keep the community here and together. Because the people who live here and know the area and are part of the local community know how it was and how it best could be, how we could best get resources like scallops and crabs and bluefish and keep these things coming into the future to support people and economically too. But if we lose the local people and don't get them involved in politics, then people are going to come from other places, which is fine if they have good intentions, but they still don't know how it was here or what the real community structure is. So to best protect our resources and our environment, we have to have a healthy, strong community that knows that environment the best.
And as an individual, I mean, I myself, well, not me, I don't really do it, but my children do it, to being the beach bums that they are, having been spent.
I was a beach bum once, yeah.
Spent their early life in Fire Island, to go out and be able to get those clams and those oysters and those snappers. And, that's quite a treasure.
It is.
It's quite a wonderful way of life.
It is.
That's
what got us to this point in humanity, really. Having all that food that nature just produces for us, essentially, let us develop technologies and grow as a culture and get to the point we're at. So to burn that bridge is just, I don't think, an option in my mind.
especially not in this day and age of the global warming, when we know
Yeah.
that there are two things that are going to be, well, very precious.
Mm-hmm.
One is food, and the other is water.
Water.
Water will be, and I've said this so many times, I'm sure people who do the technician part of the show are sick of hearing me say it, but water's the new gold.
Yeah.
It's going to be more important than anything, and we have to make sure that we keep our water clean so that we can have the kind of food that we want to have.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to get a group like the group you are with to be the kind of people who are out there monitoring and making sure that we have this goal, the same kind of goals in mind.
Yes. One thing that I see here that we can do a great job of is setting a precedent for other communities. I think the trustees, are doing a good job with monitoring the water quality, and the work they're doing with Dr. Gobler is really forward-thinking, and I'm so excited to see them monitoring every bay so closely. There's more remediation steps they can maybe take in the future, but still, the care we're giving to our waters here does set an example for other communities to
Want
hopefully
to
do the
tell
same.
everybody who Dr. Gobler is? I know, but
Oh,
everybody
Dr.
else.
Chris Gobler of Stony Brook does the water quality testing for the trustees, and he does a
Yes.
great job. So it's great for them to hire an outside consultant, but I wish they had done something like that sooner. I wish they had done something, been a little more proactive about preventing these issues instead of being so reactionary and just waiting until there is an issue and then doing something.
Yeah,
But
the
having
word is
more
proactive.
Proactive, it's very important to be proactive, especially
Yes.
right now when we're at this turning point, this crucial time where our groundwater's threatened, our fisheries are threatened, and we could turn it around if we really do engage the community enough.
Yes.
So I want to get people, young locals, involved in politics. That's one of my main goals in running for trustee. I think I can help the trustees a lot with my science background, but I want to get involved in politics out here because I want to keep our young people here. I want to keep our community intact.
And I think we have to also go into our high school, our local high school, and get people aware. Maybe some kind of programs that we could, you could.
Sure.
Not me.
Sure. I love working with kids. So
I agree. I
anybody
love
really.
working with kids too. Well, that's
Yeah,
my
you were
life.
a teacher, yeah.
I was a teacher, naturally.
Yeah.
But I think the young people need to get aware of what we have and what we have to do to keep it going.
Yeah, I agree. When I first started getting involved in the trustees and I talked to my friends about it, I realized that a lot of people my age didn't even know what the trustees did.
I know.
Didn't even know who they were. And I mean, this is a body of government that's crucial to our local economy, our bays and harbors, our fisheries, and that's been around for, 300 years. So more than that, 350. So it's very strange to hear people just say, I have no idea what those people do, but they're there and we vote for them every year. I think education's a big part of what they can do better. So hopefully my experience educating at the South Fork Natural History Museum can really make a difference on the trustees too, to get the word out about what they do and educate people about how to better preserve the water and fisheries we have.
And also, I think it would be very valuable for the trustees to have a better relationship with the town board.
Yeah.
Because they should be working together.
They should.
Because they both are supposed to have East Hampton should be
Their top priority, yeah. Their only priority, really. They're the
right,
Hampton
exactly.
boards. There's so many groundwater issues that are non-point issues, meaning that it's non-point pollution when you have pollution affecting one area from many different sources all around. And so to deal with an issue like that, it takes the utmost cooperation because it's affecting the trustee waters, but it's coming from sources all over town,
Right.
all over the highways and the roadways that bring the stormwater runoff to the places where it causes the pollution. So,
And of course, our septic
Takes everybody.
systems have to also be
yeah,
upgraded. As I've often said, you can buy a new septic system and put it in right now, it's already outdated. Because unless we get to Suffolk County telling us which are the septic systems that we can use that will mitigate nitrogen and some of the other things that are polluting our waters, as well as the fact that sewers don't necessarily work.
right.
You know,
Put in a sewer district and you're going to get more development
That's
as,
right.
as a consequence of that, and that might just take away all the positive benefits you got from putting in a sewer district.
That's right. And what you also are very interested in trying to do is to hold open land as much as possible. We just had some
Absolutely.
wonderful purchases in Springs. I call it my beloved Springs.
Yeah.
And
It's called Springs for a reason too.
yes, exactly.
Area where water comes from and where water gets recharged. So
That's right.
keeping the Accabonac and Springs overlay districts there, just filled with open space as much as possible, can really help recharge the groundwater and keep our systems healthy for the future.
You know a lot.
But
I can see you know a lot. You know what? Why don't you hold some classes for people like me? Because
Sure,
I
I
want to
mean-
learn more and more.
and at SOFA all the time we'd have classes for adults, and I was sometimes disappointed with how few adults would come to learn about things like that.
Well, I don't think enough people know about SOFO. So
That's
it's
true.
something that we have to get the word out so that people can get more education.
Yeah, they have
And-
all local animals, all local history. It's a great place to go. You can see live animals, starfish, animals you might not even know we had here, seahorses. Seahorses live here in the eelgrass and the bays with the scallops.
Yeah.
We have a lot of diversity here.
What a thrill. What a thrill. I mean, I swam this morning, and when I go in, even in this started raining, but even when I go in the water, see all that little bit of thing that's all around me that's swimming. And I always say, as they said in Young Frankenstein, it's alive, it's alive. The bay is alive.
So you should, yeah, that's how you
know,
should feel when you go there.
It's all alive, and we have to protect that.
We do.
And I'm going to put that into your very capable young hands, and you're willing
my
to
best.
accept that burden, I can see.
I am. I want to.
Thank you, Tyler. Good luck.
Thank you, Phyllis.
And
very
we'll
much.
have you on again before the election
I'd
so
love to.
that you can tell us what you're doing so far.
All right.
So that we can get this ball rolling and
We'll have to make that
protect
happen.
our area. Very important.
Thank you. Get everyone involved.